वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Shri Matre Namaha. Namaste everyone. In today's session, we are going to review the Nama Sriman Nagara Nayika. We started the introduction in the previous session. We are going to continue reviewing more of the details in the same Nama. Acharya Durvasar darshans Sriman Nagaram at the top of Sumeru Madhya Shringam, and that's why the previous nama was Sumeru Madhya Shringastha. So Acharya Durvasar darshans Sriman Nagaram at the top of Sumeru Madhya Shringam and bestows us the Varnanai. Varnanai means description of each of the enclosure. It's otherwise called as Avaranam. There are 25 such enclosures or avaranams. It's described in the very divine scripture called Arya Dwishati. And the 25 enclosures in Arya Dwishati is the pramanam for this nama to describe Sriman Nagaram. Ambal is the Nayika here, so Ambal is called Sriman Nagara Nayika. Acharya Durvasar describes a total of 25 enclosures or Praakaram. Praakaram means an avaranam like this. Of these 25 enclosures, 8 enclosures are made of precious metal. 11 are made of precious gemstones and 6 are Atita Tattvams. So, after we review all of these 25 prakarams or 25 enclosures, comes the Mahapadma Vanam. Inside that is Chintamani Griham. So, when we do Pradakshanam of Sriman Nagaram, around the Chintamani Griham, we can see various Rathams. Ambal Sri Chakra Ratham, Mantrini Devi's Ratham. Then we will see Dandanatha's Ratham. Like that, after darshaning all the Rathams in the Chintamani Griham in Sri Chakra form, there is a very special mancham, a cot. It's made of Panchabrahmam. Ambal is seated on the divine lap of Sri Kameshwara as Sri Kameshwari, Sri Lalitha Parabhattarika. So in this session, we are going to do something very special. We are going to begin reviewing each of those 25 enclosures, right? So when we start describing, we are going from the outside to the inside. So the very first aspect or the very first prakaras that we see from the outside, they are all made of precious metals, various precious metals. There are actually 8 enclosures made out of precious metals. Of those 8, we will darshan the first 5 of those precious metal enclosures. It's not just one enclosure after another. It's not just a wall. Between each enclosures, there are very many devatas. There are very many vanams. There are very many gardens. There are very many sceneries. Very many things to worship all the way. So, what we will do is we will darshan 5 of the 8 enclosures made out of precious metals using Arya Dwishati as our pramanam. So, let's go to the very first enclosure. That's the outermost enclosure here in Sriman Nagaram. That's the place where Sriman Ambal resides. Lalitambika resides. That's her place of residence, Sriman Nagaram. So we are going to talk about the very first outermost avaranam. It is made out of iron. The first of 25. Arya Dwishati Sloka states, Pratamam Sahasrapurvaka षट् सत सांख्यक योजनं परितः वलयीकृत स्वगार्थं वरणं चरणं व्रजाम्ययो रूपम्. So these are not just walls or enclosures. Acharya Durvasar says we have to pray to that avaranam. So in the shloka here, charanam vrajami varanam. Varanam means avaranam. My charanam, our respects, our prayers to that avaranam. I bow down to that avaranam. That is the bhavam that Acharya Durvasar teaches us here. So these are not just mere walls. Each avaranam is a devata. Hence, it's not just a tall wall. That's why Acharya prays Charanam Vrajamyayo Rupam. Ayomaya Rupam. Ayomaya Rupam means Ayomaya means iron. So the very first outermost prakara has to be the think about it like a compound wall of a great palace. How will it be? It'll be made out of very firm metal. So it's made out of iron. So first protective enclosure made out of iron. So it says Ayomayam. Ayomayam means iron. That's the very first enclosure. How is it? Valai Krita Swagartam. Valayam means round. Surrounding the Sumeru. So if gold and Sumeru is here, surrounding the Sumeru, um, all around. So Valayi Kritam. So Acharya says Valayi Krita Swagartam. Assume that Sumeru is right in the center. In Sri Chakra, if you see right in the center is Sumeru. And then we are going to go round and round. Each avarana is round and round and round. That's how Acharya Durvasar describes this. Each of the avaranas, so if this is Sumeru, each of the avaranas will be like concentric circles from the bindu. We are in the outermost circle, first of all, here. Valayi Kritam. Every avarana, we have to think that we are going around the Sumeru. The very first prayers is to the iron Praakaram, otherwise called as Ayomayam. Charanam Rajami Ayomaya Rupam. That's the first Praakaram. Then we are going to go to the Dvitiya Praakaram. It's called Kamsya Praakaram, or it is made out of bronze. Earlier it was iron. This is made of bronze. Acharya Durvasar says, तस्योत्तर समीरणयोजनदूरे तरङ्गितच्छाया कटयतु मुदं द्वितीयो घण्टास्तनसार निर्मितशालः. Dvitiya Prakaram. That means the second Prakaram. First was iron. Now we are going to go to the bronze Prakaram. Samirana Yojana Dure. Samirana means wind or Vayu Yojana. Usually 7 yojanas. So from the previous enclosure, 7 yojanas. Think of a yojana as 8 kilometers. So 8 times 7 is the distance between one avarana and the other. Vayu Yojana, Samira Yojana on the Uttare, right, on the north of that palace from the previous enclosure in a distance of 7 yojana is the next enclosure. What is it is made of? Acharya says, Gantastana, Gantastana Saram. Ganta. We've seen Ganta that we use in puja, the Gantamani. So here, very specially, instead of directly saying as bronze, Acharya Durvasar very specially uses the term Ganta. Ganta. Why Acharya is using this? He could have directly said it's a bronze Praakaram, right? Why? That's a bell metal, Ganta. That's the Praakaram here. That's the metal. But instead of saying bronze directly, Acharya says Ganta. Why is that? To mean two things. The first thing is the actual metal that is being used. Ganta is usually made in bronze, a bell metal. It's in Tamil it is called as Vengalam. That's why he wants to use this padam here. It says Gantastana Saram. That metal that is used to make Ganta. So that's to indicate the metal. That's one reason. The other reason is that the nadam that Ganta makes. When we use in the puja, we use the Ganta to make nadam. So that nadam, Acharya here very beautifully says, Katayatu mudam. Mudam means anandam. Mudam means happiness. Let that Gantanadam from the Dvitiya Prakaram bring anandam to all. Praise Acharya Durvasar to Ambal on behalf of all of us. So every avarna is a devata. Every metal here is a devata. This is Sri Vidya Upasana Grantham. So there are things beyond what we can describe here. But the second Avarana, Acharya Durvasar, helps us to darshan here in Sriman Nagaram. It is made out of bronze or bell metal. So far we have seen 2 avaranas out of the 25 avaranas. Of that, 8 are metal enclosures, and we have seen 2 metals. One is Aya Prakaram, which is made out of iron, the outermost one, and the second one that we just saw was Kamsya Praakaram, or that which is made out of bronze. And here we heard the divine Ghantanadam. Now, immediately we will not be going to the third avaranam. Between this avaranam and the next avaranam, there are devatas there. There are very many things that we need to darshan here. So Acharya Durvasar takes us step by step there. So Acharya in the shloka says, Ubayontara Seemanud Brahmara Ranjitotaram Upavanam Upasmahe Vaya Murikrita Mandamarutasyantam. So between the first and the second enclosure here, Acharya says there is a Upavanam. Upa means near, Vanam means forest, small forest. You can think of Upavanam here as a garden, very special garden that we have to bow down. Again here Acharya Durvasar says, Upasmahe Upavanam. Upasmahe. This is not some garden that you go and see for, fun sightseeing or like, taking selfies. These are not like this. This is Sri Vidya Grantham. So Acharya uses the very special term Upasmahe Upavanam. Says we have to bow down to that Upavanam. So it's not a place just to see, or it is not just a building. We need utmost reverence in everything that we see here in this shloka. These are all very, very sacred Sri Vidya Grantham. The shlokas are like that. So Upavanam. Upavanam. In the Upavanam, what do we have? Brahmara Ranjito Tharam. Brahmara means bees. There is a beautiful garden. In those garden, there are very beautiful brahmarams or bees. They are singing. Bees are making very beautiful nadam. That means this is a very celestial place in Sriman Nagaram where there are very beautiful bees who are singing some nadam. And then how it is Mandamarutam. Mandamarutam means in that garden very gentle breeze is flowing. And here that is the scene that Acharya is bringing to our vision for in between the first and the second avarana. There is a Upavanam here. See, earlier we heard the Gantanatham. Here we are hearing the Brahmaranatham. Brahmaranatham means bees buzzing. So these are all Shabda Brahmam, right? These are all very special Sri Vidya Upasana Rahasyams that are being conveyed here, that is beyond what we can describe here. But we have to enjoy the bhavam in which it is being conveyed, and we have to say Upasmahe Upavanam. I bow down to that Upavanam there, where there are beautiful flowers and bees who are buzzing there. And then in that same enclosure between the first and second, Acharya gives us darshan of the very first Devata here. The shloka in Arya Dwishati says, Alingya Badrakali Masinas Tatra Harishilasyamam Manasi Mahakalo Me Viharatu Madhupana Vipraman Netraha. Here Acharya gives us the darshan of Mahakala and Bhadrakali. They are the devatas that reside between the first and the second enclosure, the iron and the bronze avaranas. They are not just any devata, they are very special devatas. Who are those devatas? Mahakalo here and Bhadrakali. What are the specialities of Mahakala and Bhadrakali? They are the Kala Shakti. That means they are the devatas for time. Everything happens in our life, everything happens because of time, and they are the divine devatas that are devatas for time, Kala Shakti. In subsequent shlokas, Acharya is going to make us darshan several ritus or seasons which represents the Kala Tattvam. That's coming in the subsequent slides. So here Acharya prays, Manasi Mahakalo me viharatu. May the Kala Devatas for time play in my mind. So Acharya is bowing down and getting the blessings of Kala Devata. And then he says, Madhupana Vipramam. Madhupana means immediately we should not use our regular understanding, literal translation, and says, oh, Madhupana, oh, they drink Madhu. That is not the intent here. Acharya Durvasar very specially, when by using the term Madhupana, Acharya Durvasar implies Madhu Vidya, which is a very special Vidya. This is again, we have to recollect that these slokas are no ordinary slokas. They are Sri Vidya Upasana Grantham. So in this shloka, Acharya gives us the darshan of Mahakali, Kala and Bhadrakali, who are the devatas of time. So far in the metal enclosure, we have reviewed two enclosures. The first one, Aya Praakaram, made of iron, Kamsya Praakaram, made of bronze. Kamsyam is bronze. We heard Gantanatham there. And between the first Praakaram and the second Praakaram, Acharya has given us the darshan of Bhadrakali and Mahakala, who are the Adidevatas of time. It also means, see, we are in the outermost prakara. If when we are going further and further inside, it means we are crossing time. Kala aditam. It means we are going to go beyond time. That's why we have to take the blessings of Bhadrakali and Mahakala. So we can become Kala Aditam. Kala Aditam means transcending time, beyond time. We are going to cross this avarana by the help of Acharya Durvasar. So we have crossed two avaranas so far, and we have seen a Upavanam there, and we have seen gardens buzzing with Brahmaranatham, Gantanatham, Brahmaranatham, so many Nathams. See, various things, the very special things in these shlokas, we have to keep on grasping as we go through these avaranas. Then we are going to go to the third avarana. It's made of a precious metal called copper or tamram. That's the third enclosure. Let's review the shloka here. तार्तीयीको वर्ण तस्योत्तरसीम्नि वातनयोजतः वातन वातयोजनतः ताम्रेण रचितमूर्ति तनुतम् आचन्द्रतारकं भद्रं. तार्तीयीको वर्णं means Tritiya Avaranam means third Avaranam. So we are in the third enclosure now. So we crossed two and we are in the third Avarana. And how it is? Vatana Yojam, Vayu Yojana, which is 7 yojanas from the previous one. And what is this yojana made of? This Avarana made of? Tamrena Rachita Murtihi. Tamra Praakaram. Tamra Praakaram means copper. It looks like this in this color. Tamra Praakaram. So we are now entering Tamra Praakaram. Again, Acharya Durvasar reminds us that this is not just another walls of any palace, but these are divine enclosures of Ambal Sriman Nagaram. So Acharya worships this Praakaram, Tamra Praakaram. What does he seek here? Every prayer in this shloka, Acharya seeks blessings for us. So that is the Upasana Palan. Just reciting, hearing, getting to even know anything about Arya Dwishati is the greatest bhagyam of one's life. So here in this shloka, Acharya says, Achandra Tarakam Badram. He bows down to this copper prakara, tamra prakara, and says, as long as the Chandra and Taraka. That means as long as the sun and moon are there, I pray that this third avaranam brings eternal prosperity to all. So Acharya Durvasar is praying on behalf of all of us to Sri Lalitambika to give us eternal prosperity as long as the sun and moon are there. We look at the very beautiful Padam. Achandra Tarakam Badram. Badram means greatest prosperity, eternal prosperity. So that is the third enclosure. We are now in the copper enclosure. Now in the copper enclosure, let's see where Acharya is going to take us. He's going to take us to a very special place. He's going to take us to a garden in the copper enclosure. What type of garden? No ordinary garden. It's made out of Kalpaha Vriksham. Kalpaha Vriksha Vatika, wish granting trees. One kalpaha vriksha itself can bestow everything anybody needs. Here it's not just one, it's not just two, it's a garden. Kalpaha vriksha vatika. Acharya is taking us to kalpaha vriksha vatika. So let's review that shloka here. मध्ये तयोश्च मणिमय पल्लव शाखा प्रसून पक्ष्मलितां कल्पानोकः वाटीं कलये मकरन्दपङ्किला आवालम्. Madhye, in between the Ganta is the bronze and the copper prakaram, the previous two prakarams, right? So previous prakaram was bronze and now we have entered copper. So between bronze and copper prakaram, Madhye, Acharya Durvasar helps us to darshan Kalpaha Vriksha Vatika. It is very beautiful. Kalpanokaha Vatim. That means special garden filled with wish granting trees. The Kalpanokaha is a very special padam. In Kamakshi Stotram, Acharya, Adishankaracharya uses the exact same Kalpanokaha in the starting of Kamakshi Stotram. The Kamakshi Stotram starts as Kalpanokaha Pushpa Jala Vilasan Sannilakam Matrukam. So here also Kalpanokaha, the same exact words Acharya Durvasar also uses in this shloka. Kalpanokaha Vati. Here for worshipping Sri Kamakshi, Adi Shankaracharya had used Kalpanokaha Pushpa. Here for worshipping Sri Lalitambika, Kamakshi and Lalitambika are the same. So Acharya Durvasar also uses the very same padam. We should enjoy all the padam as we go along. Kalpanohaha Vati. So in Tirumala Tirupati, during Brahmotsavam, Swami Venkateswara Swamy gives us darshan in the Kalpaha Vriksha Vahanam. We have darshan that. We have to recollect that darshan and keep in our mind that darshan while reviewing this shloka, because this is related to Kalpaha Vriksha Vatika. Now, in this, Acharya Durvasar says the Shaka, Pallava Shaka, the Shaka, the branches of the Kalpaha Vriksham are Mani Mayam. They are, think of this as a Kalpaha Vriksham, and it is gem studded everywhere. Usually in trees, what will be there? There will be fruits, there will be leaves. Here, it's all Mani Mayam, gem studded branches, it seems. And then the trees will have alavalam. Alavalam is the base of the tree, which is usually it has a fence kind of a structure, and then or stones, right, surrounded by stones, or you will have mud here. It's fully filled with mud. That portion is called alavalam. How is this alavalam? Pankila alavalam. Usually it is filled with mud, but here it is filled with some divine substance, it seems. What is that divine substance? Makaranta pankila avalam. Makaranta means nectar. The kalpaha vriksham, it is the alavalam is fully filled with honey. Acharya says here, kalpaha vriksha tree base is filled with nectar. It is filled with fruits, flowers, base that is very fertile. That means there will be so many, it is so fertile to indicate that this Kalpaha Vriksha is going to give birth to many more baby Kalpaha Vriksha trees. That means the region is so fertile. Kalpaha Vriksham, right? Wish granting trees. It itself is multiplying. That means this place is so auspicious. As we said, one Kalpaha Vriksha itself can bestow all that we want. In Ambal Sri Nagaram here, Sriman Nagaram, in this Avaranam, there are huge gardens filled with Kalpaha Vriksha trees. We are still in the outermost Avaranams. There itself, there are huge number of trees which are Kalpaha Vriksha. If the outermost Avaranas itself is this powerful, then imagine the power of Chintamani Griham. That's the blessing of doing Sri Lalitambika Upasana beyond what we can describe in words. Now, so we darshaned Kalpa Vriksha gardens. Then Acharya Durvasar is taking us to the next scenery there. It seems there is Vasanta Ritu season here. Let's review the shloka. Tatra, there between the two enclosures, in between the bronze and the copper enclosure. Tatra Madhu Madhava Shri Tarunibhyam Taraladrik Chakorabhyam Alingito Vadanma Manisham Pratama Ritu Rata Pushpastraha. Between those two avaranams, bronze and copper, Acharya, the second and the third avarana, Acharya takes us to darshan Pratama Ritu. What's the very first Ritu? Very first Ritu means season. Very first season. There are 6 seasons in our calendar. Of that, the very first Ritu is Vasanta Ritu or spring season. That's why Acharya uses the term Pushpastraha. Pushpa Astra means spring season. The Devata has Pushpa Astram, means it has flower arrows. We bring to memory the spring season. How is it? Every tree is filled with colorful flowers, and there will be birds chirping. There's great joy. The weather is so spring is so very comforting. Look at here, our Sanatana Dharma is worshipping nature and seasons, ritus. That's the worship that Acharya is making here. Vasanta Ritu, the very first of the ritus. And here Acharya says, Tatra Madhu Madhava Shri Taruni Bhyam. Madhu Shri, Madhava Shri. These are the two consorts of uh, Vasanta Ritu. They are equivalent to Chaitra and Vaishaka Masa. So these are not just Devatas. They are Chaitra Masam is Madhu Masam, Vaishaka Masam is Madhava Masam. So Acharya says Madhu Madhava Shri Taruni Bhyam Pratama Ritu. Pratama Ritu is Vasanta Ritu. Vasanta Ritu has two consorts, Madhushri and Madhavashri. They are Shaktis. Each Shakti is a month here. That is why in Sanatana Dharma we worship nature and we worship seasons. See, we have the concept of Panchangam. Panchangam, it tells you which season comes, which day comes. Even when we do puja, the priest will say, "Oh, what day, where we live, what day it is, what nakshatra it is, which season it is." Those are all as part of the Panchanga. That's why the Acharya here worships the Pratama Ritu here. So far we have seen two plus one iron avarana first, bronze avarana next, and Tamra Praakaram, copper. In the Tamra Praakaram, between the second, the bronze and the copper, we had the darshan of Kalpaha Vrikshams, garden full of wish-granting trees. That is one of the 5 type of Kalpaha Vrikshas. We are going to see other types too. This is the first Kalpaha Vriksham that we had a darshan here. Also, we also worship the Pratama Ritu, one of the 6 seasons in a year, which is Vasanta Ritu here. Vasanta Ritu, along with the Shaktis, Madhushri and Madhavashri. So, we have worshipped 3 Praakaarams, 3 Avaranams here, along with Kalpaha Vriksham and also the first Ritu. Now we are going to the 4th Avaranam. It is made of sesam or lead. So let's first review the shloka here. Namataha namata tadu uttara bhage naki patollangi shringa sangatam shishakritam turiyam sita kirana lokam nirmalam salam. Salam also means avaranam here. Again, this is made out of lead. The avaranam now is made out of lead. How is that? Acharya says, Namata taduttara bhage. Namata, let's do namaskaram. Acharya Durvasar teaches us how to bow down to the 4th avaranam. Namata, namaskarams to this praakaram. So we have to bow and take the blessings of this praakaram. How is it? Shringa Sanghatam, the peaks of it are so high that it is even taller than Swargalogam. It is crossing Swargalogam, it seems. Shringa Naki Patolangi Shringa Sanghatam. It's so high, crossing Swargalogam. That that high peaks are there here in this lead avaranam, Shisha Prakaram. Shisha Kritam means Sisam, Em means lead. Sisa Prakaram, lead Prakaram. That's the 4th Avarana. Turiyam. It helps cross the fourth highest state. Again, this is a Sri Vidya Grantham. So there is only, we can only go by the Bhavana. The actual Sri Vidya Rahasyams behind these shlokas are only learnt from a Guru. So Acharya uses the Padam Turiyam. And he also says this is even taller than the Swargalokam. Turiyam. It's crossed everything. That's the kind of the bhavana that is being conveyed in these shlokas. And then Acharya says Chita Kiranam. Chita Kiranam means Chandrakanti. Sita Kirana means Chandrakanti. The moon's cooling grace. So Sita Kiranaloka Nirmalam. So it's very peaceful in this lead prakaram. In the Sisham or the lead prakaram, the Havaranam, it has Chandrakanti, it has very high tall peaks, even crossing Swargaloka, and it is very peaceful, says Acharya, and he says, let's worship that Avaranam. While we worship that Avaranam and go further inside, what do we see? We see Santana Vatika. Santana Vatika is also, earlier we had Kalpaha Vriksham. Santanam is also a type of Kalpaha Vriksham. This is another type of Kalpaha Vriksha that Acharya is taking us. He's taking us to another very special place. Let's look at the shloka here. Sa Sala Dvaya Antarale Saralali Kapota Chadu Shubhagayam. Shubhagayam means the Kapotam are sweetly singing auspicious Ganam. Shubhagayam. Santana Vatikayam. Acharya is going to take us to Santana Vatika, which is a type of a Kalpaha Vriksha. Shaktam Chetostu Satatam Asmakam. So let's say Sala Dvaya Antarale. Salam here is enclosure. Dvaya Antarale means between the copper and the lead prakaram, there is a Udyana Vanam. There is a very beautiful garden. How is that garden? As Saralali Kapota Chadu Shubhagayam. There are pigeons there in that garden, and what it is doing, Shubhagayam, auspicious sound. That means the pigeons are singing very auspiciously. And there are also waterfalls here, and that place is called Santana Vatika. There is very special Kalpaha, a type of, it's the same family of Kalpaha Vrikshas as a second type of Kalpaha Vriksha. Acharya is giving us darshan. So we bow down to that. Acharya says, Santana Vatika, Shaktam Chetostu Satatam Asmakam. Acharya Durvasar prays, let our mind be always fixed on the dhyanam in the sacred space of Santana Vatika. So we are darshaning and bowing and taking the blessings of Santana Vatika. And then in that same Avaranam, what are we going to darshan? Grishma Ritu, the next Ritu. Earlier we saw the Prathama Ritu. This is we saw Vasanta Ritu, right? The very first season. Here, Acharya is going to give us darshan of the second Ritu or season, which is Grishma Ritu, which is the hot sun, summer season. Grishma Ritu along with the Devatas there, Shukrashri and Suchishri. So let's read the shloka here. Tatra Tapanat Irukshaha Samragni Charana Sandrita Swantaha Shukra Suchishri Sahito Grishma Ritur Dishatu Kirtim Akalpam. Tatra, there, that is between the copper and the lead prakaram, Grishma Ritu Devata is there. Grishma Ritu is the very hot summer season. Grishma Ritu Devata is there along with Shukrashri and Suchishri. So two Devatas here. Shukra Suchishri Sahito as consorts. Grishma Ritu Devata along with Shukrashri and Suchishri as consorts. The second season in our calendar. How is Grishma Ritu? Tapanat Irukshaha. Iruksha means, Tapanat means very hot. That means fire element is there. That means Agni Sambandham. It reflects summer. And what does that Grishma Ritu do? That's the very beautiful aspect here in the shloka. Acharya Durvasar says, Samragni. Who is Samragni? Samragni means Sri Maharagni, that is Sri Lalitambika, who rules all the Samrajyam. Samragni, Grishma Ritu, holds Samragni Charana Sandrita Swantaha. This Grishma Ritu, the sun, goes and hold the summer season. Grishma Ritu holds the divine feet, the Charanam of Sri Lalitambika, it seems. Samragni Charana Sandrita Swantaha. It holds the charanam of Sri Lalitambika in their hridayam always and is happy, it seems. It only tells us that all the seasons, the ritus, they pray to the goddess for giving them that Shakti to shine and do their job. So they are always thinking of Sri Lalitambika's divine lotus feet in their heart, is the intent that is conveyed here. And Acharya says, Dishatu Kirtim Akalpam. Acharya Durvasar prays that Grishma Ritu bestows us Kirti to all of us. So let's bow down and pray and take the blessings of Grishma Ritu here. And Grishma Ritu, Sukrasri and Suchishri, right? Sukrasri, Suchishri Sahito. They correspond to Jeshta Masam and Ashada Masam. So those two concerts are really 2 months in that special Ritu, Grishma Ritu. So far we have seen 4 metal enclosures. We have seen 2 seasons, Vasanta Ritu and Grishma Ritu. And then we have seen 2 of the 5 types of Kalpaha Vrikshams also. So the first Kalpaha Vriksha, which had the garden full of wish granting trees. And then we saw the Santana Vatika, where here this is Santana Vatika, where the pigeon was very beautifully singing Subhagayam. So, the darshan of 2 types of Kalpaha Vrikshams so far. Then we are going to go to the 5th Praakaram or Panchama Praakaram. It's called Arakutam. It's made out of brass. So we have crossed 4 avaranas and we are going to the 5th avarana, Arakutam or brass. So otherwise in Tamil it is called as Pittalai. Let's look at the sloka here. Uttara Simani Tasyonnata Shikarot Kampi Hataka Patakaha. Patakaha means a flag. Hataka Patakaha Prakatayatu Panchamonah Prakarah Kusalam Arakutamaya. Uttarasimani on the northern border, Tasyonnataha, higher than the previous Praakaram. So when we go in the outermost and then we go inside, the next second avarana is even higher than the previous avarana. The third avarana is even higher than the previous avarana. That's how the Meru is. If we remember the Sri Chakra Meru, as we go from uh, the outermost to the innermost, we will climb up and up and up. That's higher than the previous Praakaram. So, Tasyonnataha Shikarotkampi Hata Shikarotkampi Hataka Patakaha. Patakam is a flag on the peaks. The Shikaram, flags are flying with golden tejas, it seems. In which enclosure are we here? The brass, Arakutam. Arakutam, Arakutamayaha. Arakutam means brass enclosure here. We recollect the lamps that are in brass lamps that are beautifully lit. We can think about that. Brass is a very, very special metal. What does Acharya say here? Kusalam Arakutamaya. Kusalam Acharya Durvasar prays that Arakuta Praakaram brings us all the Kusalam. Kusalam means Shemam. That means all the auspiciousness. So let's bow down to the Arakuta Praakaram, which is the 5th Praakaram, Panchama Praakaram. When we go here, Acharya gives darshan of one more Vati or garden. What is the Vati? Harichandana Vati. Let's look at in the 5th Praakaram. Acharya says, Praakarayoscha madhye Pallavitanya Brita Panchamonvesha Harichandana Druvati Haratata Moolam Asmadanutapam. Praakarayoscha madhye, in the middle of the fourth and the fifth prakaram, there is Harichandana Vati, Harichandana Vriksham. There are very special Harichandanam. If we see Lord Krishna, um, uh, the Lord always adorns Harichandanam, very special sandalwood trees. So how will we feel if we see sandalwood? What is the immediate feeling that comes? They are very fragrant and they are very spiritual. So that is the Vati that Acharya Durvasar is taking us to, Harichandana Vati. In the Harichandana Vati, what are we hearing? Panchamon Meshaha. We are hearing music, very special music in the fifth note, it seems. So there are so many flies and bees and that are flying, singing stuti in Panchama stuti, doing alapanam. All the flies that are going around are singing in Panchama stuti, doing alapanam. Panchamon meshaha. Anutapam haratah. Remove. So that sound, when we hear that sound, Acharya says, Haratada moolam asmadanutapam. Acharya Durvasar prays that Harichandanavati removes all of our tapatrayam, remove all of our sorrows. This Harichandanavati is very, very special. It is also a type of Kalpavriksham. So Acharya is giving another type of Kalpavriksham as darshan for us. So after that, when we keep going for in the same avarana, we are also going to darshan Varsha Ritu, with his consorts Nabashri and Nabhyashri Shaktis. Let's look at the sloka here. Tatra Nabaha Shri Mukyai Taruni Vargaihi Samanvitaha Paritaha Vajratahasa Mukharo Vanchapuritam Tanotu Varsharituhu. Tatraha, in the fifth prakara, Nabashri Mukkais Taruni Vargam. See, in other shlokas, there were only two Shaktis, right? Acharya specifically specified two Shaktis along with the Ritus. For example, in Grishma Ritu, we say Shukrashri, Suchishri. Vasanta Ritu, we said Madhushri, Madhavashri. Here in Varsha Ritu, the rainy season, Acharya says, Taruni Vargaihi. Shri Mukyai Taruni Vargaihi. Starting from Nabashri Mukyai Tarunai Vargaihi. Starting from Nabashri, there are there are 12 special Shaktis, it seems. In the Varsha Ritu alone, there are not just two. Nabashri Mukyai Tarunai Vargaihi. Vargam means there are a lot of Shaktis here, and the lot of Shaktis denote 12 of them specifically here. Why 12 of them? Because in Varsha Ritu, if you think of it, the rain can be in different forms. For example, it just can pour down as water. It can come out as snow, which means like crystallized rain. Then it can come as sleet, which is half snow and a half rain mixed, like a sleet. It can come as a small stone, like a hail. It can come as a flood, and like just like in Govardhana, it can just cause some huge flood. It can be gentle drops. There are several types of rain. So Acharya here calls each one of them as Shakti. Actually, there are 12 of them is what is believed. So 12 Shaktis are implied here. So Acharya uses the padam Nabashri Mukyai Tarunai Vargaihi. There are 12 from 12 Shaktis that are Mukhya Shaktis starting from Nabashri, and they represent each of the different types of rain. How are they? How is this Varsha Ritu here? Here Acharya says Vajrata Hasa Mukaro. Vajrata Hasa Mukaro means like how is the rain there? Attahasa Mukara. Attahasa means like a thunderous laugh. In the rain season, how will it be? It has sounds of thunder. The padam that's used is very beautiful. Here, Vajra Attahasa Mukharam, thunderous laugh as it is characterized in the rainy season. So Acharya, that's considered to be the smiles of the celestials here in this Ritu, Varsha Ritu. And Acharya says, Vancha Purtim Tanotu Varsha Rituhu. Vancha Purtim, Acharya Durvasar prays to Varsha Ritu that it please fulfill all of our desires. Vancha Purtim. So let's pray to Varsha Ritu. Varsha Ritu has two main um, Shaktis, but in total 12 Shaktis. So Nabashri and Nabhyashri are the two, Nabashri and Nabhayashri are the two main Shaktis, and in total they are 12 of them. They correspond to Shravana Masam and Bhadrapada Masam, which is specific to Varsha Ritu. So now we have seen the first four plus one, five total precious metals. Of these, we have also darshaned three of the 6 seasons. We saw Varsha Ritu, we saw the summer Grishma Ritu, and we saw the Vasanta Ritu. All three Ritus we have seen. And then we also had Kalpa Vrikshas darshan. There are totally 5 Kalpa of this. We have already seen 3 of them. Earlier slokas, we saw the Kalpa wish granting trees. We went to the Santana Vatika, and then in this Arakuta Praakaram, we also saw Harichandana Vatika, the sandalwood, fragrant sandalwood trees, where we heard the music in Panchamastuti. Fifth note music is heard here, and it is in this Avaranam that Varsha Ritu stays here, very specially with Nabashri and Nabhayashri, and in total there were 12 Shaktis here. So we have darshaned 5 of the 8 metal enclosures so far: iron, bronze, copper, lead. Let's see. Aya Praakaram, Kamsya Praakaram, Tamra Praakaram, Sisha Praakaram, and now Arakuta Praakaram. So, um, just like a grandfather will hold their grandchildren, Acharya Durvasar here holds our hand literally and takes us through step by step, crossing each avarana in Sriman Nagaram. See, this Arya Dwishati is considered to be very, very special grantham. It's not very, very easy. Even uttering or even hearing one word in this Arya Dwishati is considered to be very, very auspicious. So I pray to Acharya that if there are any mistakes in what we have recited so far, for Acharya to forgive all the mistakes and bestow us all the goodness from it. Aham chati balo bhavan lokatataha shamasva paradam samastam mahesha. Acharya Durvasa darshans all of this with his jnana drishti and bestows the shloka with great karuna to us. This is a Sri Vidya Rahasya Grantham. We are just starting with the darshan of the outermost prakarams of Sriman Nagaram. Of this, we have so far seen 5 out of the 25 enclosures. As next steps, with Acharya's blessings, let's continue the Varnanaya of the remaining prakaras in the upcoming session. Loka samasta shukino bhavantu. Thank you so much, everyone. Shri Matre Namaha.